Hey guys, this is your friend Dark Fox 3.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto became the Dark Angel King, council bashing and ultimate shinobi harem begins. Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. It was a cold and stormy day in Wave. Clouds had blotted out the sun and mist enveloped the land, but none more so than at the bridge. The bridge that was to give hope to the long oppressed people, the bridge that was currently the site of an intense battle, the likes of which Tazuna hoped never to see again. What made the battle infinitely more disturbing was not the fact that he could die any second. It was the fact that 12-year-old children were being used as soldiers. One stood in front of him. She had long bubblegum pink hair and fair skin. She wore a short keep-out dress that ended at her waist. Under that were tight green shorts. She stood next to him shaking in fear and quoting things from the Shinobi rule book. There were two others children defending him as well. One had raven black hair and pale skin. He wore a short-sleeved blue, almost black, shirt with a fan on its back and white shorts. That child was currently battling yet another child who could have only been a little bit older than him. Ice sheets as tall as the man sent to kill him had sprung up around both young men as they battled it out. Throughout the battle he could hear gasps of pain from the raven-haired youth. As Tazuna watched the dome in morbid fascination, he noticed an orange blur move towards the dome. This blur could have only been one person, the third child hired to defend him. He was dressed quite differently than the other two, wearing a bright orange jumpsuit with a red swirl in the middle of his back. He had tan skin and sun-kissed hair. His eyes were the clearest blue he had ever seen, so clear that they made the sky seem dull in comparison. Yet that is not what attracted him to the child soldier. It was the pain hidden in those eyes. That child had known suffering that seemed to be on par or surpassing the pain Gato had inflicted upon Wave, yet still he smiled and fought. Truly he was the ideal for a hero. Naruto landed on the bridge as Tazuna gazed at the dome, taking a quick second to survey the situation through squinted eyes. Noting the battle between his sensei and Mamachi Zabuza, a fight where he would be more a hindrance than an ally, his attention was quickly drawn to the dome of ice that seemed to have come from nowhere. Sensing that someone was in immediate danger, he charged forward. At first his back protested, something it had been doing all week. He had no idea what it was that caused him pain, yet he had not mentioned it. Mostly for the fact that he had felt worse pain, the villagers had seen to try to make that so. The other reason was he was afraid that he would have been thrown into bed and told that his part in the mission was done. This was something his pride could not allow. So he had ignored it and the irritation in his eyes. He arrived in the dome just as the masked Oinin was about to deliver a punch with an fist clenching 3 senbon between fingers. The punch seemed to be aimed at Sasuke's eyes, something that would have destroyed him as a ninja. Moving as quickly as his protesting back would allow, Naruto deflected the punch and countered with one of his own to the hunter's midsection. Sasuke got off lucky considering instead of losing one, or both of his eyes, all he wound up with was a pierced right ear. One of the senbon had pierced the upper cartilage of his ear as the other two missed him completely. Sasuke grit his teeth as the Oinin let go of the 3 needles and was sent backwards by the force of the punch, leaving the 1 needle as his first earring. Tem, what the hell you doing on your knees? Naruto asked. Baka, what are you doing in here? If you had stayed outside the dome we might have had a chance. Sasuke growled as he instinctively going along with the verbal dance that had become habitual around Naruto. He was actually very glad for what the blonde had just done, since had he not Sasuke might have very well lost his eyes, and without them he would never be able to kill his brother. Yeah, then we'd be calling you Sekigan right now, wouldn't we? Naruto quipped, bringing a small smile to Sasuke's face despite the situation. So you are the third member of this team? A cold, yet slightly familiar voice asked. Turning, both youths saw the Oinen in a mirror. They could only guess that he was looking at them in contempt, and as they could not see his eyes. What they did not know was that his face was grimaced in pain. The punch Naruto had given him had felt similar to that of a Raiden jutsu. Yet he knew this to be impossible. As Haku gazed at the two of them, he grew increasingly aware that the blonde was in some sort of discomfort, based of his constant squinting and the posturing of his shoulders. Must have overtrained. Haku mused before moving into the attacks. And so it went. Haku flew from mirror to mirror, throwing Senbon needles at them with reckless abandon, covering the two of them as if they were pin cushions. Naruto and Sasuke, however, were nowhere near idle while this was going on. The two did their best to dodge the needles. Sometimes they would attempt a counter-attack, yet for the most part they were on the move, constantly dodging the needles. Yet no matter how many times they were hit, they never went down. Both showed exemplary skill in the regards of pure stubbornness. Haku realized that if they were to continue at the pace they were, he would run out of chakra long before they would. Quickly coming to the conclusion that he had to end the fight as soon as he could, he threw a small concentrated hail of Senbon between the two of them. The barrage had the desired effect of driving the two apart. Moving to another mirror, Haku threw yet another set of needles at Naruto. Naruto, having stumbled and felt the pain in his back worse than ever, was ill-prepared to move away from the incoming hail of Senbon. Closing his eyes and throwing his arms in front of his face, Naruto prepared to feel the pain that the needles promised. Yet it never came. Glancing out from behind his eyes, he saw in front of him Sasuke. The dark-haired youth gave him a weak smile before collapsing to the ground. Sasuke! Naruto cried out as he fell to the ground. Sasuke! Get up and keep fighting. We're supposed to get out of this together. Dobi! Listen, I always hated you. Don't die, live, dream. Sasuke rambled as the light left his onyx eyes. Is this your first time losing a comrade? The masked nin questioned from the mirror. Losing someone is never easy, especially the first time. Yet it is necessary so that we may harden our hearts and become the tools of our village. The cold voice spoke. As the voice spoke, Naruto felt energy pour through his body. Slowly he began to rise. What was that? The Oinen asked. Wind began to blow from nowhere and electricity began to spark around him. Said. The wind blew the mist from the bridge as it started to circle the rising genin, the electricity growing more violent. Shut up. A small tornado began to form at his feet and spin violently and rapidly. The electricity arced and danced in the torrent of wind. Everything in the dome was thrown around that wasn't in the eye of the twister. Sasuke's limp form was thrown clear from the dome, landing in a heap at Sakura's feet. Needles were sent flying in all directions, charged with the power of lightning. Haku watched in his mirror, fear gripping his heart. This was something he had seen once before. It had been different, but the core of it was still the same. The forces of nature would surround the youth in a protective cocoon, and when it was gone they would be changed. It was the signs of what was once the most prominent bloodline in all of Kurogakure no Sato, the Aramento Raken of the Uzumaki. Zabuza had been in the middle of his fight with Kakashi when he felt it, while Haku had only ever seen one awakening, as they were called. He had seen 5. He had grown familiar with the sensation of the elements themselves going haywire in response to an Uzumaki awakening, their Kekkei Genkai. From what he could tell now, one of the brats had been an Uzumaki, probably the loud blonde. Cursing that he had yet again underestimated the Konoha nin, he jumped away from Kakashi. Of course it would be just their style to kidnap an Uzumaki. Their village is so bloodline crazy, I wonder how many bloodlines are actually from their village. But that blonde seemed awfully damn loyal to Konoha if he wanted to be Hokage, he thought with venom. Looking at the dome, he saw the wind and lightning mixing around one central point. Haku, get your over here, he called, trying desperately to not let concern slip into his voice. Zabuza-sama, I know he's a Uzumaki. He finished for Haku. Wait, what the hell are you two talking about? Kakashi asked, startled by the turn of events. You have an Uzumaki whose Kekkei Genkai is activating, why would I risk my apprentice in that maelstrom? Zabuza growled. The Uzumakis have a bloodline, why did Kushina never mention it? She would have been received in much higher regard. As he looked onward at the small twister that had engulfed his student, he became increasingly aware of a large approaching force. As he and Zabuza turned to meet the force, there was a tremendous gust of wind that seemed to blow in all directions as one. It was then followed by a particularly loud boom of thunder as rain began to fall. Glancing back at where Naruto once was, all he could see were the scraps of the shirt and jacket that Naruto once wore. Turning back, he caught the tail end of how Gato planned to kill them all while they were tired from their fight with one another. He even saw how he planned to do it. A force of over 100 Ronin would certainly be a challenge to any, especially two tired Jonin. So how do we do this? Kakashi asked tiredly, glancing at the pair of Nukenin. Only to gape in shock as Zabuza sealed his massive sword into a scroll. What the hell are you doing? He asked in confusion. Getting rid of a potentially lethal lightning rod, was all the answer H got out of the man. Ah, so the baby demon's afraid. I knew you were just a worthless coward. Demon of the mist, Gato sneered, thinking that Zabuza putting the sword away was a sign of surrender, rather than clever self-preservation. Gato, I'd be less worried about me if I was you. Zabuza said boredly with a hint of malicious glee in his voice. Oh, and who should I be worried about? That bastard of a kid always following you around, or that freak in the mask? No, wait, I should be afraid of the corpse and the bubblegum bitch. Gato laughed. After my men are done killing you and destroying the bridge, they have free roam to ransack the town and take anything to their heart's content. That'll show the miserable urchins here how pointless it is to try and fight me. Who knows, maybe I'll get some good whores out of this. Gato finished. All the while Gato had been talking, Zabuza had his eyes to the sky looking at something. Kakashi had no idea what the man was thinking, taking his eyes from the threat in front of him. Yet oddly, as Gato's speech went on, he seemed to get happier and happier. Yeah, that ought to be enough. Zabuza said while looking up. Curiosity finally getting the best of Kakashi, he too gazed at the sky as lightning flashed, only for his eyes to widen in utter shock at what he saw. There, diving from the sky, was a shirtless Naruto. A pair of wings blacker than onyx sprouted from his back, spread outward to control his dive. The blue of his eyes had consumed everything else, not whites, no pupils, just the blue, yet it was a darker blue than ever before. His eyes were darker than that of the ocean depths. What's more, he could have sworn that he saw arcs of electricity coming from his eyes. His right arm was held back in a shape that could have only been a kuni was held in it. Yet what was scarier still was the bolt of lightning following him in his wake. He is who you should worry about, Zabuza said evilly as Naruto plummeted from the sky. Many had now finally seen his descending form. Those who had been through Kiri when the Uzumaki still thrived knew the immediate danger they were in and had thrown themselves off the bridge. Others still just gazed on in shock as the boy descended upon them, Gato being one of them. He looked as if he was trying to figure out exactly what he was seeing. The look was still on his face as the kuni descended and rent his head from his shoulder, the bolt of lightning hitting the bridge soon after. The bolt decimated the remaining men on the bridge who had not jumped to escape the incoming death. As the arcs of electricity danced around the bodies of the bridge, Naruto began to shakily rise to his feet when the sound of clapping caught his attention. Marvelous kid, true Uzumaki style. You're a regular Kuro Tenshi, Naruto. Zabuza cheered as he remembered the genin's name. Dark Angel, catchy. Naruto smiled before collapsing into unconsciousness. It was a day later in a seedy shop on the border of Mizu no Kuni that both bought and sold information. These were the places one went when they wanted the latest news on Nukenin, or when they had a particularly juicy scoop on an up-and-coming ninja or samurai. It was in this shop that a tired and weary Ronin entered. "Hey Oyagi," he cried out to the elder man behind the counter. "The hell do you want, punk? Big info," he gasped out as he tried to regain his breath. Those two words had gained the full attention of the man behind the counter. "Well, spit it out, lad. If it's as big as you say, you just might get a bit of money," the elder threatened. "Well, get a load of this. I think I just saw the last Uzumaki," the young man finally managed to say. "Impossible. Kiri wiped them all out during the bloodline purge. They were the first to go along with the Kagaya," the elder stated in shock. "Well, apparently they missed at least one. This kid had the classic signs of an Uzumaki." "Oh, what were his affinities?" the older man questioned in glee. "I think wind and lightning. He also must have had a hard life. His wings and eyes were pretty dark," the Ronin answered. "Fascinating. What was his name?" "Uzumaki Naruto, and what's more, Zabuza the demon of the bloody mist declared him the Kuro Tenshi." "Fascinating. Tell me more about him. I need features if I'm to put him in the bingo book," the elder man demanded. "I'll do you one better. I took this picture after he killed over 80 men by directing a lightning bolt at us," the Ronin said as he pulled out a picture of Naruto shirtless standing weakly on the bridge. Later that day, after the Ronin left with a fairly large sum of money in his pocket, a messenger bird was sent to Kiri with details about the Kuro Tenshi, and recommendations that he be added to the bingo book as AC class shinobi. "Fiori. Chapter is done, so tell me, did you like it, hate it, think it has potential? Tell me, I need to know. Tell me or I shoot Haku." "Haku? Wait, what?" "Fiori. You heard me. And you in the audience better tell me who you want Naruto paired with, 'cause I got nothing for pairings this time." Though I am leaning towards Hana or Tenten, it had been a full day since Gato's fall at the bridge. To the glee of everyone, especially Sakura, Sasuke had survived the needles, and he had woken shortly after the lightning struck the bridge. Zabuza had laughed when he got up, saying something about how Haku detested needless death. What had surprised the Konoha nin more was when he apologized to Tazuna. It would have been heartwarming had he not mentioned the only reason he was apologizing was that there was no money in killing him anymore. Currently, though, the nin of Konoha sat in Tazuna's dining room around the kotatsu. To the opposite side were the pair of Kiri Nukenin. Tazuna was at the entrance looking from one side to the other, hoping that something didn't go wrong. His hopes seemed to go south as soon as Zabuza opened his mouth. "So how did you idiots at Konoha manage to kidnap a Uzumaki?" That statement alone seemed to set the Konoha nin off. "You think we would stoop so low as to kidnap?" Kakashi asked, his voice dangerously cold. "Yes, I do. The Uzumaki's Kekkei Genkei was very powerful. The world knows Konoha is bloodline crazy. It wouldn't surprise anyone if they found out that you kidnapped others and forced them into your village to form several of the clans you have. Zabuza stated coldly. You're wrong, Konoha would never do that. Sakura tried to say in a brave voice, yet all she could manage was a weak-sounding one. Oh, I'm wrong, am I? Well, I could very well be, but ask yourself this, would Kumo hesitate to kidnap a main branch Hyuga? Would Iwa pass up the chance to kidnap the last Uchiha? Would Suna say no to a Senju being thrown into their village? All the other villages out there would love nothing more than to bolster their forces with bloodline shinobi. So why would Konoha be any different? Zabuza rebutted coldly. He was quite shocked when the reply came not from one of the ones in front of him, but from the doorway instead. Because the Hokage would never agree to it. Ji-san would be disgusted if anyone tried to do that. Naruto stated from the doorway, shocking everyone present with the fact that he was upright. He stood in just his shredded pants. No shirt could have been put on to fit over the wings, which were currently curled up against his back, yet still they could be plainly seen to all who looked. His monochromatic eyes gazed coldly at Zabuza. So you have that much faith in your leader, him? How could you when you've had such a hard life? Zabuza asked. And how would you know what my life was like, Tem? Naruto growled, lightning arcing around his eyes. Your wings and eyes. The bloodline you find yourself in possession of is both a manifestation of your elemental affinity as well as your soul. The darker the color, the harder the life. For your wings to be darker than this brat's eyes, your life must have been shit. Zabuza stated calmly as he pointed at Sasuke, indicating what he meant. So that coloration is not natural? Kakashi asked in shock. Not at all. The Uzumaki with wings I saw usually had gray to white wings. So tell me, punk, why so much faith in the Tem you call grandfather if he couldn't even keep your life from being hell? He's no Tem. He's the one of the few people who actually treated me like a human. Naruto growled. Naruto, what do you mean by that? Sakura asked, confused. That people have a habit of being cruel to Naruto. They blame him for something he had no say in. Because of that, he's had a very hard life. Kakashi answered before him. So what happened? His mother kill a bunch of people when you kidnapped her? Kakashi asked, bemused. Would you shut up? Kushina came to us of her own will. Kakashi finally snapped, only realizing what he'd said after he said it. The reaction from Naruto was much to be expected for his slip. You knew my mother. He glared angrily. Well, you see, he began only to be cut off when killer intent flooded the room and a blade was leveled into his face. The blade was different than the huge Kubikiri Hako, which Zabuza usually wielded. This blade was an elegantly grafted katana made with what looked like red steel. The guard was 4 sets of crimson angle wings, and the handle had what looked like a serpent's tail wrapped around it. The blade itself looked old and out of use, yet it had the look of being well used before it fell into disuse. Why Zabuza would pull this old blade out at the name of Naruto's mother confused him. Tell me again, the name of this brat's mother. Zabuza demanded, murderous intent clear in his eyes. Uzumaki Kushina. He said back. How in the 9 hells did Sensei let herself be captured by you chicken shits? Zabuza asked, malice dripping in his voice. Kakashi's eye visibly rose at the revelation that Kushina was Zabuza's sensei. Everyone had known that she was from Kiri originally and that she had escaped shortly before the bloodline purges started. But for her to have been the sensei to one of the most vicious shinobi in modern times was a big shock. She had always been a kind soul with a flair for practical jokes. Wait, my mom was Yujanan sensei. What the hell? Someone give me some answers here. Naruto demanded as the revelations kept coming. He may not have been the brightest tool in the shed, but he knew that if his sensei knew who his mother was, then he knew who his father was, and that would mean that the Ji-san knew as well, which meant that he'd been lied to for years. Your mom was the only sensei who took me as a student after the incident at the academy. She wasn't like everyone else. Most other sensei praised me for my viciousness, even if they were afraid of me, not her though. The first thing she did when I was declared her apprentice was beat the all-living shit out of me for what I'd done. She was from the generation right before the blood tournaments began and had a higher appreciation for teamwork. She pointed to the 7 swordsmen of the mist as an example. While one alone was effective and deadly, all 7 of them together could overthrow the village. Hell, it was because of her that I was inspired to incite the rebellion. Zabuza laughed. If she was such a great kunoichi, why did she leave Kiri? Sasuke asked, curious of this woman that the story told about. Because she was an Uzumaki, a holder of the Aramento Raken. When the purges started, they and the Kagaya were the first targeted. She left before anyone could get to her. He answered. As Zabuza explained his past with Naruto's mother, he had slowly but surely lowered the crimson blade from Kakashi's throat, so now it was by his side instead. Kakashi, seeing this, realized that this would be the best time to explain how he knew Naruto's wayward mother. Now that I don't have a sword pointed at me, I think you should know that Kushina came to us on her own free will. We had no idea she was a holder of a bloodline. We thought that it was coincidence that she had that name, seeing as she showed no signs of having the bloodline traits. You would swear to that? Zabuza asked in a glare. Yes, I swear on my eye that she came to us willingly. Kakashi said in a cool, even voice. That is a good enough oath for me, just know I'll hold you to it. Zabuza said with a nod. So Kakashi, how did you know Naruto's mother? And how could Konoha not realize she had a bloodline if it made her look anything like Naruto? Sakura asked, her curiosity finally winning out over her fear of the demon of the mist. Yeah, I'd like to know that too, and why you and Jii-san never told me about her. Naruto added with a glare. 1. I knew her because I was friends with Naruto's father when they met, and before you ask Naruto. No, I can't tell you who he was. He had too many enemies that would try to kill you. Since he died in the Kyuubi attack, they would use you for vicarious vengeance if it got out that you were his son. As for your second question, Sakura, she didn't have any traits. Her eyes were an uncommon yet still normal violet. She had no wings either. She looked like a normal woman. Kakashi answered. Zabuza snorted at the description. 1. Her eyes were normal because she wasn't a lightning type. 2. She had no extraordinary features because of this. He said as he held up the sword. What's that sword have to do with my Ka-san? Naruto asked curiously. The Uzumaki were an odd sort with their own traditions. One of them was their Kokoroken's heart sword. When an Uzumaki's bloodline activated, they would gather immediate family to forge their blades. These blades were forged special from a chakra steel reservoir that the Uzumaki were just lucky enough to build their home over. The blade was made even more special by the way they tempered it. Each family member would donate a pint of blood with the person the blade was forged for donating to. The blade was then tempered in that blood, giving it the red hue. This special process made the sword stand for the individual Uzumaki it was crafted for. It was their heart and pride as an Uzumaki. If they gave up the sword, it was like giving up their family. If one were to do that, they would have to give up their Kekkei Genkei. She gave her sword to me before she left, knowing that if she kept it, and by extension her features, the Oinen would track her to the gates of hell. After giving me the sword, it was demanded that she lose her wings and tail. Zabuza answered. Wait, tail? Sasuke asked in confusion. Yes, a tail. It came from her water affinity. Let me back up a bit. Most Uzumaki are dual-natured because of the constant influx of different chakra types into their family. Even people from elemental bloodline families mixed with them. But the result was most Uzumaki had 2 out of 5 common features. Wings for wind, the same kind of eyes as the Gaki for lightning, a fin tail for water, flames at the tips of their finger and toes instead of calcium for fire, and scaled skin for earth. Kushina was a wind-water type. Now each trait offered different benefits. Wings are kind of obvious, for the flaming nails and Uzumaki could channel their chakra to their hands and the fire would expand to cover their hands. If they punched you like that, it was similar to being hit by a low-powered explosive note. Now for the tail, it better let them swim and infiltrate places by water. The scales of an earth alignment allowed for tougher skin, making them harder to kill. Finally, those with lightning affinities were able to sense electric currents. Not only that, but their own natural electrical field was more active. Understand? Zabuza explained, earning a nod from all present. So she gave you her sword and had her tail and wings removed, forcibly and by point of a sword, I expect. Kakashi asked, going back to the original topic. This earned a nod from the Nukenin. That's right, after that I have no idea where she went. But if this brat here is her kid, that would mean she wandered into Konoha and something or someone caught her interest. Zabuza said in almost a questioning manner. She said that she smelled ramen. Kakashi replied, causing Zabuza to laugh out loud. Ramen. I should have known. The Uzumaki could eat their weight in ramen and never gain a pound. I take it this Gaki inherited that as well. Zabuza laughed out. He eats the noodles for every meal. Sakura said in disgust. Hey, don't disrespect the ramen. It's the food of Kami. Naruto spat back, causing Zabuza to roar with laughter. It was quite disturbing, really, to watch a man they all knew could kill them without hesitation, and quite easily at that, laugh as if he was a child being tickled. Defiantly her kid, he finally gasped. Hours later found Naruto sitting on the roof deep in thought. He was trying to think of anything else than what had happened on the bridge. Yet try as he might to force the train of thought to all that he had learned about his mother, his mind kept returning to the same place. He had killed a man, albeit a very evil little troll of a man, yet that did nothing to ease the guilt he felt in his soul. This guilt was made even worse when he remembered the lightning that had followed him and killed a significant portion of the bandits. Zabuza found him sitting there deep in thought. It took him a moment to truly recognize the blonde. The loud, short little kid in a bright orange jumpsuit still burned in his head, made it difficult to realize that the boy wearing a tight crimson shirt with no back and black pants was the same person. This young man in front of him was depressed and sinking deeper into it. Haku had been the same way after his first kill. Hey kid, Zabuza called out, feeling slightly awkward. While he was good at reading emotions of others, handling them was a different matter altogether. Oh hey Aniki, what do you want? Naruto asked, causing the skin where Zabuza's eyebrows should have been to rise. Aniki, well, you were pretty close to Ka-san, so that sort of makes you like a big brother, I guess. Naruto answered with a smile. You Uzumaki were always weird when it came to naming things. Zabuza muttered. Look kid, I can guess what you're thinking about. Truth is, you killed the little and a whole bunch of other people. They're gone and nothing you do will ever bring them back, so why bother crying about it? You're not good with the whole comforting people thing, are you? Naruto asked after a few moments of silence. Not one bit. All I can say was that Gato was scum and will not be missed. Though that's not saying much, since I myself am considered scum and won't be missed when I pass. Your mom would go on and on about some such moral bullshit and try to make you feel better, but that's all I can give you. Zabuza replied. It's better than nothing, I guess. Naruto replied as he went back to looking at the stars. Every now and then he would be distracted by something. Having trouble blocking out the currents? Zabuza asked. Yeah, can't seem to find one thing that doesn't have one, except for rocks. Naruto smiled back. Your uncle used to complain to no end about the currents. Zabuza smiled, recalling the man. You knew more people than just my mom. Naruto asked, his eyes widening. I knew many Uzumaki, but your mom's immediate family I knew closest. Kushina took me under her wing and trained me the best she could. She did her damn best to save me from my own inner darkness. Uzumaki were crazy like that. Zabuza said as he sat down. What do you mean by that? Naruto asked, confused. Your family had the annoying habit of always trying to find a person's inner light and lead them back onto the path. Hell, it was one of the reasons they didn't immediately incite a war when the blood sport exams started. They thought they could change the Mizukage. Zabuza explained. Wow. Were they any good at it? Naruto asked with a smile. Look at me and ask that question again. Zabuza growled. Naruto looked at the man. He looked as much as he could, trying to see something. He knew that his mother had seen something worth saving in this man, this supposed demon. What was it she had seen in such a man, he wondered. Quickly he began to go over all he knew about the man. He wanted to overthrow the current cage of Kiri. Bad in most cases, but considering that he was a man who initiated the bloodline purges and forced academy students to kill one another, it wasn't that much of an evil. He wanted to kill them up until recently, but he had stopped because the money disappeared. Yet the clincher was that he had taken in Haku, someone just like him, a refuse of society. Someone unwanted and unloved. Even if the demon of a man denied it, he cared for Haku. Yeah, guess they were. After all, you're nothing but a big softy Aniki. Naruto said with a smile. This of course resulted in him being punched upside the head. Ow. What was that for? Goddamn Uzumaki and their stubborn habits. Zabuza said as he began to walk off, leaving Naruto alone sitting on the roof. Naruto was confused about what had just happened. He reviewed it all and saw no real reason why he should have been harmed. But then again, he never was the sharpest. It was a miracle it had taken so little time to come to his conclusion about Zabuza. As he continued contemplating what happened, he never noticed Zabuza pausing, as he was about to leave the roof. Hey Gaki. Zabuza called as he turned around for one last thing. What do you want now? Naruto asked. Catch. The demon of the mist answered as he tossed the red blade that had belonged to Kushina towards Naruto. The blade traveled at a moderate pace towards Naruto. Fast enough to make catching it properly difficult, but not fast enough to make it impossible. It was a test mostly by Zabuza to see if he truly could wield Kushina's blade. Naruto caught the sheathed blade deftly right before the guard before twirling it upwards and holding the blade like it was meant to be. For reasons he could not explain, the sword felt right in his hands, as if it were his. Take care of that kid. It's one of the last things in this world of Kushina-sensei's. But seeing as you're probably the last Uzumaki in the world, and her kid to boot, I think that blade would be best wielded in your hands. Zabuza said as he saw the young man grip the sword properly. If the kid could get some actual training in, he could probably learn how to use that blade with deadly precision. Arigato Aniki. Naruto yelled happily while he contemplated how he could learn to use the thing. Just don't make me regret handing it to you. Zabuza said as he walked into the house. He however had no idea how giving the brat a shiny new toy like a sword could go horribly wrong. Which, considering that Naruto's personality was almost a carbon copy of every Uzumaki he'd ever met, was fairly stupid of him. The next morning, as the Konoha nin were preparing to head to the bridge to help repair the damage their fight had wrought on it, Kakashi noticed the absence of a certain blue-eyed blonde. He glanced in the room he had been sharing with the other genin. He was startled to see no signs of the blonde being in that night. "Has anyone seen Naruto this morning?" Kakashi asked, dreading the answer. "No, I don't think I saw him go to bed last night." Sakura answered as she thought back to last night. "The Dobi never came in last night." Sasuke stated calmly. "Well, that's not good, he could be anywhere by now with that bloodline of his." "Keep your eyes on the sky," Kakashi ordered. "What's all the ruckus about?" the voice of Zabuza asked from the doorway. "Naruto has disappeared," Kakashi answered quickly, hoping that maybe this man could offer his unique skills in handling Uzumaki to hunt down the young ball of energy that made a hummingbird on crack look calm. "Well, that's not a good sign. You should keep better track of you runts," the other man said condescendingly. "Look, I don't have time for this. Have you seen him or not?" Kakashi growled. "Last time I saw him was sometime last night when I gave him Sensei's sword." Zabuza answered. "You gave him a sword?" Kakashi asked suddenly. "Yes, why? It is his by right." Zabuza rebutted. "That may be true, but you gave him a sword. You gave a learn-it-yourself idiot like Naruto a sharp implement of death." Kakashi said back, worry creeping into his voice. "So, it's not like he's going to stab himself or cut his own head off?" Zabuza said. "Did you at all remember that he knows the Kage Bunshin Jutsu?" Kakashi asked desperately. The news suddenly hit Zabuza like a ton of bricks. His thought process shut everything down except how an idiot with a sword and Kage Bunshins could kill himself. It went from bad to worse when he remembered the kind of ridiculous training Kushina used to put herself through. Honestly, who practiced sword katas upside down over a pit filled with rabid howler monkeys, the only known monkeys that actually fling excrement, while blindfolded with weights on their entire body? Any Uzumaki that you suggested the idea to, that's who. Well, then maybe we should be talking less and searching more," he said as he took off into the forest to look for the idiotic blonde. Despite the combined efforts of both Kakashi's summons, the Kiri Nin's tracking skills, and the combined efforts of the entire village and the genin, not a single person could find hide nor feather of the missing genin. It was sunset when the search was called off and the two Shinobi teams had retired to the home of Tazuna. Kakashi was stressed so much that his hair color started to make more sense to those present, at the disappearance of the blonde. Sakura looked worried at her teammate's disappearance. Haku, Sasuke, and Zabuza were doing their best to show no emotion about the disappearance. How the hell is it this hard to find a loud-mouthed blonde with a 24-foot wingspan? Sakura finally snapped. Well, Naruto has always been good at not being found when he didn't want to be. He was once even his own D-rank mission to find him. Kakashi answered in an attempt to be calm. Wow, he had his own capture mission, wish we could do that instead of try for Tora. It'd probably be 10 times easier. Sakura said while imagining herself easily capturing the young blonde and Sasuke praising her for her skill. Actually, after he entered the academy and started to learn how to make traps, the mission was eventually upgraded to low B rank. Kakashi said, crushing the fantasy in an instant. Catching the Dobi was a B rank mission, that seems highly unlikely. Sasuke said impassively. You say that even though you have searched for him for an entire day and haven't even found a clue about the whereabouts of a loud blonde midget. Zabuza said with a sigh. Well, what do you suggest I do to try and find him then? Sasuke asked, annoyed. You could try praying. Zabuza said sarcastically. He was, however, completely floored when the pink-haired one actually got up to do just that. Oh merciful Kami, please return the baka in relative safety so that Sasuke-kun can be at peace. If that hadn't floored him, then the loud human squawk and splash that was heard outside would have. Quickly they rushed to the door and looked into the pond next to the house. There was a battered, scraped, shredded, and tired Naruto climbing out of the water. The sword was in his hand as he rose from the water. What also scared Kakashi was that he had what looked like rocks crudely tied to his legs in. Naruto, where the hell have you been? Sakura demanded. Training, was his tired reply as he walked into the house and sat down at the table. Training? Training how? Zabuza asked. Well, first I just swung the sword around a bit trying to imagine people fighting me. But then I remembered that I get actual people to fight me at my skill level with the Kage Bunshin. At first I only fought one at a time, but that to be too little since they always dispelled real quickly. After fighting 5 at once got to be too little. I remembered this really strange guy the first saw back at Konoha running through the streets carrying rocks. So I tied some rocks to my chest and legs and started fighting the clones again. After a while the clones I was fighting started to dive bomb me, so I started to fight them in the air. Naruto explained in between bites of food. How long ago was it that you started? Kakashi asked. When Aniki gave me mom's sword. Which was last night, so you've been training since then. Naruto, you are aware that we have to help repair the bridge you damaged, right? Next time you decide to train, at least send us a clone to tell us about it. Kakashi said with a sigh. Okay. Sorry Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said sheepishly. Good. Just wait till you have someone who actually knows how to use a sword before you go off trying to learn how to use yours. Kakashi replied, hoping that would keep him from running off again. Do you know how to use a sword, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked, hopefully destroying the small hope. Well, not very well. He said, trying still to deter Naruto. Well, how about you, Aniki? Ka-san taught you how to use your sword, so can you teach me? Naruto asked while looking hopefully at Zabuza. A strange thing to see with his eyes the way they were. Well, you see, Zabuza started hoping he could blow the kid off. It was not that he didn't like the boy, anyone who could cause as much destruction as he had earned his respect. He just didn't plan to get tied down to anyone when he still had his dream. His plans for dissuading the young blonde only grew further and further away, as the endless blue eyes seemed to grow wider and wider. I shall not fall for the puppy eyes, I shall not fall for the puppy eyes, I shall not, oh damn it. Fine kid, you win. I'll go see if I have any Kenjutsu scrolls. Hell, I might even teach you a few things myself. But it's only for this week. After that we part ways. Got it? Zabuza relented as he got up to look through his scrolls on Kenjutsu. Naruto nodded his head rapidly and happily at the answer. He'd finally get some real training in besides the tree climbing. Team exercises were all very well, but he'd be damned if he let Sasuke outdo him in anything. Naruto-kun, are you sure you wish to train under Zabuza-sama? Haku asked in shock. Yeah, why? It's not like I get much training in otherwise unless I attempt it myself. Naruto said with a smile. Oh, it's just that Zabuza doesn't know the word restraint very well. He might make things more difficult than they need to be. Especially if you are his sensei's child. Haku said with a shudder as he remembered his own training. How bad could it be? Naruto said with a smile. Kid, you're in luck. Zabuza said as he came back into the den. He had 4 scrolls with him as well as the Kubikiri Hako strapped to his back. I'd forgotten Sensei gave me these with her sword. He said with a smile that made most of them cringe. What are they? Naruto asked, curiosity clear in his eyes. Clan scrolls for wind and water style Tai, and Kenjutsu. He said with a smile. But I'm not a water type. Naruto said dumbly as he stared at the scrolls. True, but you do plan on having kids, correct? Well, Naruto said with a blush. Good, 'cause they're yours now. Now it's time to learn. See you all in a week. Zabuza said as he grabbed Naruto and dragged him into the woods. Why do I feel as if I should have stopped that? Kakashi asked as he read his book. 1 week had passed before they returned. Zabuza looked the same except for a grin plastered on his face. Naruto still had on the crimson shirt with no back as well as the pair of black pants that Kakashi had shortened for him. Yet he had also added a pair of sleeves to the outfit. They were the kind that samurai wore under their armor, just a pair of sleeves that attached themselves to him by strings in the back. They were black with orange tiger stripes. What disturbed Kakashi even more was the addition of face wraps hiding his lower face. He just hoped the blonde didn't take too much after the man after just a week. Kakashi, you are an idiot, was the first thing he heard from Zabuza upon their return. Huh? He asked in confusion. This kid tells me that all you focus on is teamwork. Now while I admit that I like the idea, you are spending next to no time on working on their actual skills and fixing their bad habits. This kid here had no taijutsu to speak of, even though with proper training he turned out to be a natural prodigy in both that and kenjutsu. Not only that, he's a hard worker who won't stop until you knock him out. Zabuza explained. The Dobi's a prodigy? Sakura asked in shock. HN took to it like a hawk to the sky. But he still needs a hell of a lot of work to get over his bad habits. Not to mention get to the level of skill needed to make Hokage. Ah, Aniki, don't say that. Naruto pouted. You're still a loudmouthed, soft-hearted idiot. Zabuza said back. Now back to you being an idiot. He said, pointing at Kakashi. Not only do you have to fix his aforementioned problems. You have that kid, he said while turning to Sasuke. Who, while skilled as an egotistical emo with an Avenger complex. He said to Sasuke's chagrin. Hey, don't insult Sasuke like that. Sakura said angrily. And she's the worst among your 3. No skills outside of academy basics. To top it off, she's an over-obsessive fangirl. You Kakashi need to get off your and train them hard and not cater to their problems. Zabuza stated as if it was the most logical thing in the world. And how am I supposed to make them into a team? Kakashi glared angrily. Make them live together. It did wonders for my teamwork with the other swordsmen. Punish them when they get out of line, and train them into the ground. Zabuza said solemnly. There was silence as Kakashi thought it over. He could actually see what he was talking about. They needed to break certain habits and work as a team. Sure, they had worked and gotten stronger here. But it wasn't enough. I think I'll do that. Kakashi said with a smile. What? You can't be serious, sensei. Sakura asked in shock. Sakura, while it pains me to say this, he is right. You need training, and you also need to stop pretending. You saw what Naruto did last week. He killed 70 people. You will be expected to do the same. Sometimes it won't always be so cut and dry as their life or yours. Sometimes you take the lives in cold blood. That is our lives as shinobi. He said coldly. Zabuza, thank you for your services in looking after one of my students. I shall take what you've said to heart and begin training my students to the fullest of their potential so that future problems may be averted. Kakashi said seriously. No need to thank me. I only told you this so that the Gaki doesn't get killed. If he did, I'd hunt you down and kill you over the course of a week for failing my sensei's child. Zabuza said coldly. Understood. Team 7 move out, we're headed home. Yugura was furious. He had tried desperately to destroy the taint that were the bloodlines. They were unnatural abominations, demons worse than he was, yet somehow one had been able to escape. As the Mizukage, it was his duty to protect his people from these abominations, and still one had been allowed to breed. Making more of its kind. He stared at the picture of the Kuro Tenshi. It had been little more than a week since he had added the boy to his bingo book as AC ranked shinobi. The last Uzumaki's picture stared back, as if it was mocking him. Glancing down, he saw the information and grew even more furious. Zabuza named the boy. Obviously he was the demon's apprentice now and must be dealt with as quickly as possible before he could breed and infest the world with his taint. The Tsuchikage could no believe what he was seeing. It was a little more than 3 days ago that the new bingo book from Kiri had shown up with new information on ninja. At first there was the usual information on old Nukenin. But the page that had information on new shinobi absolutely floored him. There staring back at him was a younger face of the Iero Senku, Yellow Flash. Yet what added more to his shock was that he now possessed a Kekkei Genkei. The Iero Senku was to be feared with no bloodline. His hidden spawn was to be more so feared now that he had been discovered. He could not allow the child to live longer than necessary. Before too long he would have the power to finish what his father started. He had to be eliminated. So with much haste the Kuro Tenshi was added to their bingo book as AC rank shinobi. The Raikage stared in curiosity at the face in the bingo book. He recognized it instantly as the face of the Iero Senko. Yet he was able to see past that and more to the bloodline he possessed. Like many others from the older generations, he had seen what an Uzumaki was capable of. Their heightened affinities were able to turn many battles against their foes. He also knew the secret of the coloration. For the boy to have wings darker than the Hachibi's ink, he was surely mistreated as a child. This was something he knew he could exploit. For the child to be one of the last of his kind and mistreated as badly as he was, it would be a simple matter to convince him to defect. And what better time than to do so during the upcoming Chunin exams in Konoha? Even if he didn't participate, they could try to coerce him into joining much easier than if they had to fight him. Send me Team 12. Orochimaru was shocked when he saw the old face of his rival for Hokage listed as AC rank shinobi. Of course, after looking at the face he could notice the discrepancies in the picture. Whisker marks and Hyuga-like eyes were a dead giveaway that it wasn't truly him. As he read more and more about this shinobi, however, he grew more and more curious. The boy obviously was the Kyuubi brat that he had fought with Danzo over years ago. Yet according to records his family had no bloodline. Perhaps it is the fabled Aramento Raken that Kimimaro talked of. It was supposedly one of the most powerful bloodlines in Kiri before the purges. If he had survived from the Kagaya clan, then perhaps one of the Uzumaki had truly survived and passed along their bloodline. In eager anticipation he went to present the picture to Kimimaro for confirmation. Sarutobi Hiruzen was having a good day. While he was a bit worried about Team 7 being overdue, he passed it off as Naruto wanting to see more of the outside world. Currently he was taking a break from the dreaded paperwork that all Kage had to deal with. He was instead simply enjoying a little orange book that looked surprisingly similar to one read by a chronically late Jonin. As he was reading, he did not expect Ebisu to burst through the door screaming. Hokage-sama, have you seen the latest entry in Kiri's bingo book? What? No, why? He said hastily as he hid the book under his desk. Ebisu wasted no time with words. Instead, he pulled out his copy of the newest bingo book and opened it to a marked page and showed it to him. What he saw was shocking enough that it nearly gave him a heart attack. There, in just his tattered orange pants, was Konoha's #1 most surprising shinobi. This, however, took the cake on all his little surprises. He has a Kekkei Genkei. This is most unprecedented, Sarutobi said as he gazed at the information. Last wielder of the Aramento Raken. This confirms it. Kushina really was from that clan. He silently thought as he looked at the photo. Do you think that the fox has something to do with this? Ebisu asked timidly. No, you and every other damned fool in this village has nothing to worry about. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. The seal is full proof unless he willingly draws from it. Sarutobi replied in anger. But, is it not obvious? His mother obviously possessed the bloodline and simply hid it from us. Perhaps she did not want to be used to recreate her clan here, but the point of the matter is Naruto now possesses one of the rarest Kekkei Genkei there is. Not only that, but his face will be seen in every major village there is. Sarutobi said to himself more than Ebisu. Why is that bad? You and every other villager here truly are blind, aren't you? He asked in a sigh. What do you? Just leave Ebisu. Leave me to my growing headache. The Hokage ordered as he rubbed the bridge of his nose. Minato, what would you do in my position? Your son is most likely going to be forced into the clan restoration act just like Sasuke. What would you do? Sarutobi thought as he prepared for the inevitable council meeting that would occur because of the revelation. Fiori. Huzza, I live still to give you all the last announcements. So far the pairing wars go as such. Inazuka Hana. 4. Mitarashi Anko. 2. Tenten. 1. Fiori. These numbers will be taken into account when the final tally is made in Chapter 4. So till then, vote on the homepage and see who he winds up with. Also review or I shoot Haku again. Haku. Please review, says in pain. The return trip from Nami to Konoha was much faster than the trip there. Since before the children had no grasp at the tree climbing and had to protect a civilian. Now, however, they were able to move at high speeds to return to the village. Yet for one, the speed was still not enough. You guys are slow, Naruto said as he landed. He, instead of jumping from treetop to treetop, had been getting his wings used to long-distance travel. It was quickly apparent that he was much faster in the air than they were in the trees. Well, Naruto, we don't have wings. So what do you expect? Kakashi said as he read his book. Well, isn't it possible for me to carry one of them and you carry the other? We'll get there faster and it'll be good weight training. Naruto smiled through his wraps. Naruto, why do you want to train with weights? Kakashi asked, his eyebrow rising. Well, Aniki said that weight training makes you a more effective shinobi. You can hit harder and run faster. Plus they even offer protection while you wear them. If someone hits the arm with the weight in it, it hurts. Naruto explained enthusiastically. Kakashi nodded at the reasoning. He remembered that every time he blocked guys' kicks at the ankle that the weights added an extra oomph to the kick. Naruto, as sound as your reasoning is, I don't think Sasuke and Sakura would take kindly to being carried. Kakashi said while Sakura nodded. Yeah, you baka. Sasuke doesn't need anyone to carry him, he can get there all on his own. She said, praising her crush. Yeah, but he's so slow. Naruto complained again. The trip consisted mostly of these kinds of interactions. Naruto would fly through the air heading for home, notice he'd outpaced them, turn back and complain about them being slow. It was highly amusing to Kakashi since he remembered Kushina doing similar things. It was scary to see his sensei's face with Kushina's personality. After a day's worth of travel, they had finally arrived within view of the gates to Konoha. The three genin stared nostalgically at the gate. While they had only been gone for a month, it felt like a lifetime to them. So much had changed for them that they could not truly call themselves children anymore. Naruto felt the most changed of them all. Yet he also felt a fair deal of anger. Kakashi had known who his mother was. For years he had asked the Hokage if he knew who his parents were. Every time he had been told that he did not. Yet Kakashi knew. From what he could infer, his father was some sort ninja who had died during the Kyuubi attack. He knew that part of the job of the Hokage was to know who his forces were. What was worse was the old man took great pleasure in knowing who everyone was. He must have known who his father was, and thus who his mother was. Naruto broke away from the rest and made haste towards the open gates with renewed vigor as he contemplated this. He was however completely shocked when the two Chunin on duty barred his path. "State your business in Konoha," one of the Chunin said as he gazed harshly at Naruto, not even looking at his headband. Naruto looked back at him and blinked dumbly. "What are you talking about?" Naruto asked, confused at the actions. "All foreign shinobi are to have passports and proof of their business at the gates of any hidden village they are to enter," one of them said tensely as if expecting an attack of some sort. "What are you two doing?" Kakashi asked in confusion. This shinobi was attempting to enter the village without papers. One of them answered in a relieved sigh. "But he's one of our shinobi," Sakura said in confusion. "Well, I've never seen him before, and I think I'd remember someone with wings," one of the guards said. "But it's me, Naruto, how could you not recognize me?" Naruto whined. Both guards looked at him in shock. They too were shocked at his appearance. As with Zabuza, a loud little midget in a neon orange jumpsuit was the default image when one thought of Naruto. This young man before them was not in an orange jumpsuit, and besides the fact that he had a bloodline, he was also taller than Naruto. Unknown to the members of Team 7 who had been with him every day of the slow process of him growing, and thus did not notice the growth. Naruto had grown by at least an inch. Part of it was due to Zabuza ordering him to eat more than just ramen. The other was his increased regimen of training. "This is Naruto," they said in union. "Do I look that different?" Naruto asked in confusion. Both men nodded in shock before looking at Kakashi. "Is it really him?" Kakashi only nodded in confirmation. "I think you should go see the Hokage. We know and plan on it," Naruto said as he marched past them and towards the tower. All along the way he ignored the curious glances towards him. His mind was focused on just one thing. The old man had 1 ton of explaining to do. He was so caught up with it that he almost forgot the members of his team following in his wake. The Hokage sat behind his desk completely unaware of Team 7's return. His mind was elsewhere instead. While it had not occurred yet, he knew that some member of the council would get wind of Naruto's Kekkei Genkai. When that happened, he would willingly take on a mountain of paperwork rather than hear the civilians whine about how the demon granted him his powers. Then there were the members of the council that would want to breed him, Danzo and his teammates being at the very front of those clamoring for it. He wished that Naruto never gained his Kekkei Genkai. While it may make his life slightly better since Konoha loved having bloodlines, in the end it was more trouble than it was worth. Naruto wanted a family, that much Sarutobi knew. But to force him with other people who did not love him, and who he did not love in return was not something the young blonde wanted. He wanted a true family. One that held love, not one that was based simply on so they could recreate a lost bloodline. It was as he was thinking all of this that the door opened to reveal the very person his mind had been on. The young blonde certainly looked different. Sarutobi gazed sadly at the new look Naruto had adorned himself in. Finally reaching his eyes, he could not help feel even more saddened in the look he was given. The eyes held a sad question in them, one that spoke of betrayal and grief. "Hey old man," Naruto said quietly for once. "Naruto, it is good to see you." Sarutobi said heavily. "I trust your team is with you to file a report on your mission." He asked more from the part of him that was Hokage than the surrogate grandfather. "We're all here, Hokage-sama." The mission was, for lack of better words, upright from the start. 10 minutes later, Kakashi had finished explaining about the seriously misfiled mission they had undertaken. Sarutobi was shocked that it had gone so wrong, from the demon brothers to Mamachi. It truly was a up mission, especially for a Green Genin team. There was also the problem of Naruto learning about his mother. The look he was given earlier made sense now. "You three may go now," he said as he looked at the genin. "But Ji-san," Naruto started to protest. "Naruto, I will speak with you later. I am truly sorry you found out about your mother in this way. I'm also sorry for the secrets kept. But I want you to understand that they were for good reason. I hope that you may forgive me for this," he said sadly while looking at his surrogate grandson. "We'll see, Hokage-sama, we'll see," Naruto answered sadly as he turned to exit the room, Sasuke and Sakura following him. It pained him to see Naruto leave like that, especially with the name he was called by. For Naruto to call him that meant that the revelation of the day had left a serious gap in the trust Naruto had once had for him. After the genin had left, he turned towards Kakashi, expression serious. "Kakashi, while I congratulate you on the completion of this mission, I would like to ask why you continued it after the demon brothers showed their heads and you learned of Gato," he asked the younger man in complete seriousness. "While it was my intention to end the mission, my genin felt that they could handle it," Kakashi answered. "Did you feel they could handle it?" the Hokage asked. "I felt that they could survive and become better from the experience," Kakashi answered hesitantly. "You wished to give them a wake-up call. Tried to see if you could force them out of their bad habits and work as a team. An admirable effort, seeing as you drew the short straw with them. But there are other ways you could have gone about this differently." Kakashi had the decency to look ashamed at the Hokage summing up his plan. "I know, but the only other thing is for them all to live under the same roof for a time. With these three, they just might end up killing each other. I thought that this could get them to wake up and work together," Kakashi replied sheepishly. "I know what you mean, I had the same problem with the Sannin. Not the exact same thing as you have, but very similar. They very well did nearly kill one another when I forced them all under the same roof. But they did come out stronger for it." He smiled guiltily. He fondly remembered the days his team was together, yet those memories were always tainted by Orochimaru's betrayal. "I guess there's no choice then, we'll need a place to stay for the next few months," Kakashi said with a sigh as he contemplated all the ways this could go wrong. "It shall be arranged, but there is another matter I must inquire you on," Sarutobi said solemnly. "You mean me letting slip about Kushina? I won't apologize for it," Kakashi stated simply, earning a raised eyebrow from the aged Hokage. "You were given orders long ago not to mention his heritage. Now that you have disobeyed that order, and you are not even willing to apologize for it, you must have a very good reason." Sarutobi said darkly. You know as well as I do that we should never have kept his parents' secret. His father I can understand. But Kushina had no enemies that we knew of. Hell, if he had known who she was, he might have taken more pride in himself and worked even harder to match her. Kakashi replied tiredly. But she did have enemies. You just stated that Kiri was responsible for destroying his clan. You yourself have dealt with the few refugees that come through Konoha. Even those who left to escape the bloodshed still wish for the death of those with Kekkei Genkai. If the Mizukage finds that one of their own escaped the purges, it will push him to take actions beyond what they already do when they see someone they have no rights over. They have already added him to the bingo books. Sarutobi replied back. What? Kakashi asked with a start. Sarutobi only pulled out a dog-eared bingo book as an answer. This is not good, Kakashi said weakly. It is what I always worried would happen when we sent him into the field. But there shall be more than just Iwa clamoring for his blood this time. Kiri will doubtlessly try to find some way of discreetly killing him. To make matters worse, they will have no compunctions about attacking your team as well. Kiri to destroy one of the last Sharingan users, Iwa to kidnap him, hell, both will probably try to kill you first. Guess then that I have no time to waste. I really will have to come down hard on them and train them the way Kushina tried to train us that one time Minato couldn't. Kakashi said calmly. Isn't that being a tad bit extreme? Sarutobi asked in shock, remembering very well how Kushina liked to train and what became of it. No choice, but I'll make sure to water it down just enough so they'll stay sane. Kakashi I smiled. Naruto walked through the village slowly. While he felt betrayed that the Hokage had kept knowledge from him, he could not truly hate the man. He had kept him from going insane for a long time now. He was truly grateful to the older man for what he had done for him. Yet for him to withhold the information on his mother just felt wrong. He could understand from what Kakashi told him that many would try to kill him for who his father was, thus it was a secret. But why was his mother kept secret? Oi Naruto! A voice called to him, distracting him from his musing. Turning, he saw that the voice belonged to Sasuke. What do you want, Tem? Naruto asked in a slight growl. A match, was the simple cold response. Yet coming from Sasuke it carried more emotion than most could read. You want to fight me? Naruto asked, his tone halfway between confusion and glee. Zabuza said you were strong and a natural at taijutsu. I want to see if that's true, and if it is I want to know why you have never shown any aptitude for it. Sasuke said while looking him dead in the eyes. You've got a match then, Tem. Let's go find someplace to fight. Naruto said with a smirk as he changed his direction towards the training fields. Sasuke followed behind. He was growing anxious with anticipation. He had pestered Haku for the entire week about information on the Uzumaki taijutsu style. He had simply told him that it was almost as unpredictable as they themselves were. Naruto was near giddy with glee from just the challenge. Ever since he had declared Sasuke to be his rival, the conflict had always been rather one-sided. Every fight they had was always simple, quick, and ended in Naruto defeat. Yet now he was being acknowledged by Sasuke as a worthy equal, someone worth his time in a fight. He couldn't wait for the ensuing fight. Wait, what did you say, Sakura? Ino asked in confusion. She and the members of Team 10 were heading to the Hokage Tower to report their success in AD rank mission when they had run into Sakura. She had a look of confusion and worry on her face, as if something was about to go very wrong. Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji had all stopped to see what the matter was while Asuma entered to give the mission report and collect their pay. Sasuke went to challenge Naruto. She repeated. Why the heck would Sasuke lower himself to fighting the Dobi? Naruto is just so beneath him. Ino asked in confusion. Well, Naruto sort of well. She started before trailing off, not knowing how to actually word it. Naruto sort of what? Ino asked in exasperation. Sakura spat out quickly in a long stream of utter nonsense to all but Ino, who was highly familiar with long streams of unintelligent gibberish. He's got a bloodline. How? When? Zabuza. Ino shouted out in shock, eyes wide in disbelief. Wait, what? Choji asked in confusion. Naruto apparently has a bloodline of sorts, and a man named Zabuza is somehow involved. Shikamaru answered tiredly. Really? What kind of bloodline do you think he has? Choji asked through a mouthful of chips. Don't know, probably something troublesome. He answered. During our C-rank mission, Naruto's bloodline activated and he was trained by Zabuza for a week in his family's taijutsu style. Sakura answered calmly. Why would Zabuza train the Dobi in his family's style? Surely Sasuke would deserve more merit than him. Ino asked in confusion. No, not Zabuza's family, Naruto's family. Naruto's mother was his sensei and she left some of her scroll in his possession when she left. Sakura answered, shaking her head. So why would this inspire Sasuke to fight him? Ino asked. He only said that he wanted to test something. Then he left to go looking for Naruto. Sakura answered. Well then, you shouldn't worry. A week of training can't be enough to actually make Naruto any better. He was the dead last in the academy. Ino said with confidence. I know, but Zabuza said Naruto was a prodigy. Right, then why were his grades so bad? Ino shot back. I don't know, but something about this fight has me worried. Sakura answered. Ino stood there contemplating the information that she had just been told. While she and Sakura may be rivals, she would not deny that she still felt some trickle of friendship for the girl. So for something to worry her, she could not help but want to put her at ease. Well, there's nothing for it then. We'll just have to go watch the fight with you. Ino stated matter-of-factly. Wait, we? Shikamaru questioned suddenly. Yes, we. Don't you want to help put Sakura's fears to rest? Ino asked him angrily. No. Well then, how about seeing what this bloodline Naruto is supposed to have is? Ino said with air quotes around bloodline. In truth, she didn't think it possible for it to be real. If it were, he would have been better at stuff. It'd be too troublesome. He said lazily. Look lazy, we're going and that's that. She ordered firmly before marching towards him and grabbing him before turning towards Sakura. Well, what are you waiting for? You probably know where they'll be better than we do. Oh, right, Sakura said sheepishly before turning and heading towards Training Field 7. Ino, Choji, and the lethargic Shikamaru right behind her. Troublesome woman, Shikamaru muttered as he was dragged along for the ride. Naruto and Sasuke arrived at Training Field Scene shortly after they had run into one another. Both were by this point eagerly anticipating the coming fight. One to prove that he was stronger than the other. The other only wished to prove that they were equals. Sasuke, while he would never openly admit it, was angered when Zabuza chose to train Naruto. While he knew that it was a matter of respect and honor to one long since dead, the matter was that he had been overlooked for the Dobi. Naruto, however, felt that this was finally the time where he could prove to Sasuke that he was truly worth to be his rival. What was more, if he could win or draw in this fight, it would prove that he was not the dead last. So how do you want to start this? Sasuke asked as he slipped in his Sekendo, way of the intercepting fist. I don't know, why don't you start things off? Naruto quipped as he slid into a stance from Fukin. Wind Fist throughout the week with Zabuza had him work mostly on one kata from each the Tai and Kenjutsu scrolls of the wind style. This was the Yokoke's cross winds. His arms were held loosely ready in front of him and his wings were open slightly. Sasuke studied Naruto before doing anything else. His stance was loose and open to attack. Was it really true that he was a prodigy with such a weak stance? Perhaps Zabuza had been mistaken. Shaking his head slightly, he charged, throwing a quick left hook when he came close enough. Sasuke was openly shocked when the fist was blocked, but not by one of Naruto's hands, it was one of the wings that had blocked his strike. Faster than he believed such a large appendage could move, it covered Naruto in a protective half cocoon, stopping his fist from making contact with the blonde. The wing then pushed upwards, hitting his arm and forcing him to drop his guard and push him back slightly. That was when Naruto's right fist made contact with his sternum in a hard uppercut that lifted him slightly off his feet. Yet still the blonde was not done. The idle wing moved with a quick flourish, creating a small yet powerful gust of wind that pushed Sasuke even further back. Backing away quickly, Sasuke reevaluated the stance Naruto had taken. Now that he looked at it more closely, he saw a small inkling of the stance's purpose. The wings were to be used as a shield to his attacks and force him out of his guard while the user's fists could quickly counter. What was more was the wings also served as a means to attack. The strong winds they pushed outward could prove to be very detrimental to any fighter. Smiling, Sasuke made another charge. Perhaps he had been wrong and the Dobi truly was a prodigy. This was the sight that Sakura and Team 10 arrived to see. Yet while Sakura knew the winged boy to be Naruto, the others were not able to see any resemblance in him to what he once looked like. Ino found herself glancing between the winged boy and Sasuke. Finally she voiced what was on her mind, as well as that of her teammates. Who the hell is the kid with wings? I thought Sasuke was fighting Naruto. She questioned as the two combatants danced around one another. Ino, that is Naruto. His bloodline gave him those wings. Sakura answered. What? She hissed in confusion as she looked back. She was not the only one confused by this information. Shikamaru, for all his lethargy, could not help but grow curious over the sudden transformation of the previously orange-wearing blonde. While he would admit that he looked far more like a shinobi without it, it was odd seeing him in something that didn't scream, "Here I am," though the wings did make up for that. Naruto batted Sasuke aside once again with his wing before lashing out with a punch. The other boy moved quickly to dodge the fist, only to have to dodge a quick strike from one of Naruto's wings. Sasuke stumbled back after dodging. Naruto, not wasting any time, quickly pressed his advantage. Lashing out with multiple punches and the occasional wing strike kept Sasuke on his guard. Quite suddenly Sasuke's fist made contact with Naruto's cheek, sending him reeling backwards. Looking back, Naruto could see that Sasuke's eyes were red with a single tome in each eye. Naruto backed away from Sasuke as the ebony-haired youth began a barrage of fists and feet, trying to bat aside Naruto, protective wing. Quickly Naruto jumped away with aid from a powerful pump of his wings. Another pump and he was 10 feet above Sasuke. So you've got the Sharingan too now. Well, this'll make for an even better fight. Naruto said, laughter clear in his voice. Yeah, guess it will. Sasuke said as he started to go through hand seals. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball. The giant ball of fire rushed through the air towards Naruto. He barely had time drop from the sky. He skimmed the edge of the fire as he dropped towards Sasuke. Naruto saw him standing ready for him as he dove in for an attack. Throwing a quick left hook followed by a right straight at the Uchiha, Naruto noted that with the Sharingan Sasuke now had a distinct advantage when it came to predicting fists. He wondered if he could do the same for his wings. Quickly Naruto's left wing tip lashed out like a hook, hitting Sasuke in the temple with an audible thunk. So you can use your wing for more than just flapping about. Sasuke smiled as he backed away. Well duh, Naruto said as he cocooned both wings in front of him to hide the hand seals he ran through. Sasuke was confused as he watched the boy. He wondered what could have made it necessary to cocoon himself in his wings. It wasn't until he noticed the chakra the blonde was molding that he realized, but by then it was already too late. Futon. Datapa. Naruto called. With a flap of his wings a huge gust of wind picked up, tossing Sasuke into a tree as if he was a rag doll. He had to admit, that was ingeniously clever, using his wings to hide that jutsu. If it weren't for the fact that he could see the chakra being molded, he would have thought Naruto to be going on the defensive. He wondered idly where he had learned the jutsu, but quickly wrote it off as something that Zabuza probably taught him. He charged after Naruto again, lashing out with a left roundhouse kick, before following it with a mid-air side kick. Naruto managed to get his left wing in position to block the first kick, but the second one hit him square in the exposed right shoulder. Staggering back, he could barely bring both wings to position to stop the onslaught that Sasuke set at him, trying to press the advantage. Naruto, seeing the precarious position he was in, formed a familiar cross seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he called out as a sea of smoke filled the training field. 50 Narutos looked at Sasuke with their dark eyes before wordlessly charging. As the boys battled it out in the training fields, the Hokage had his own battle to fight. Not even 2 minutes after Kakashi left, Danzo had stormed into his office flanked by his old teammates. They had announced that his presence was required at a council meeting immediately. Upon arriving, he quickly learned the reason for the meeting. Word had finally gotten out about Naruto's Kekkei Genkai, and the council was having a conniption fit about it. Several were in the opinion that it was the Kyuubi's influence that had granted the blonde with his bloodline. Others simply did not care how he got it, only that for once he was actually useful. Several members of the civilian council were actually petitioning their children to be wed to him. Finally, Sarutobi had enough of the mindless chatter. Enough. I will not have this council bickering about this matter like uneducated academy students. This matter shall be handled calmly or not at all, he ordered while releasing the barest minimum of ki. Very well, Hokage Dono. The council is called because of the matter of one Uzumaki Naruto. I speak for all when I ask, why did you keep it a secret that he had a bloodline? Umanka Inoichi asked calmly. I did not keep it secret, for I cannot lie about matters I have no knowledge in. Sarutobi answered. So you had no notion that the boy was carrying one? I find it frightening how lax you are with records. Danzo said with just a hint of loathing. It is no fault of mine, neither his father nor his mother were recorded to have one. Sarutobi answered sharply. You see, it has to be the Kyuubi. He has granted the boy this power so that he may better slit our throats when the time comes. Raved a frantic merchant. You would doubt the Yondaime Hokage's seal work. The Kyuubi has no influence over the boy unless he willingly draws from it. This Kekkei Genkai is completely natural. Sarutobi growled back. But how can you be sure? You yourself told us that neither parent had a Kekkei Genkai. Nara Shikaku asked lazily. While it was true that neither of their records stated it, I have recently come across some information from a very reliable source. He rebutted. Oh, and what would that be? Asked Hyuga Heishi. During the mission to Nami where his Kekkei Genkai awoke, Team 7 made contact with the new Kennen Mamachi Zabuza and his apprentice. According to him, this bloodline is called the Aramento Reiken. The Kekkei Genkai allows for physical traits to develop depending on elemental affinities. It is a trait passed along the line of Uzumakis and was once the most powerful bloodline in all of Kiri. He explained. So it was from her then, was it? Inuzuka Sume asked, confusing the civilian council to no end. Yes, it was from her. I postulate that she hid it so that she would not be used as simple breeding stock as some of you now plan to use Naruto as. Then how did she hide it? Fuinjutsu. Hiashi asked. No, she had her traits forcibly removed to escape the bloodline purges, leaving both her sword and clan scrolls in possession of her former student Zabuza. Both the sword and the scrolls are now in Naruto's possession. He explained. How many scrolls in total? Danzo asked hungrily. 4 main scrolls that are expected to hold more scrolls within. The scrolls explain his family's ken and taijutsu styles. And no, I shall not ask for them, they are his and we have no right to deny someone their family belongings. He answered coldly. But the demon could use them too. You shall shut up now if you know what's good for you. Growled Sume. Thank you, Sume. Now then, the matter of where the bloodline came from is resolved. Are there any other matters that need addressing? Sarutobi asked. I move that the Uzumaki be placed in the Clan Restoration Act. An aging man motioned while thinking of his granddaughter. I shall not allow it. Surprisingly, it was not the Hokage who spoke. It was instead a man named Haruno Ryo. The demon doesn't even deserve to have the gift its host was born with, let alone clan status. He yelled angrily. You shall be silent, civilian. Sume growled menacingly while releasing a minute amount of ki. Why can you not see what it plans to do? The demon is using its host's family to multiply. If we allow it to breed, we'll be overrun by demon spawn in a matter of months. He cried desperately, while images flashed through his head. The fox bearing down on the village, his wife committing suicide to escape the force of its killer intent, his brother's mangled body being brought in from the field, and worst of all, the agonizing minute when his daughter had stopped breathing. If not for Konoha's talented medics, she would have died. He could not let the fox take even more from him. I said be silent. Sume growled as she stood from her seat and made to attack him. Both of you settle down now. The Hokage ordered harshly. Both Sume and Ryo looked at him in fear. I said at the start we would be civilized about this. If you cannot abide by this rule, then you shall be removed from this room. He continued. But the Haruno, I understand your fears, but as I have told you before, Uzumaki Naruto is not the demon. If he were, he would have destroyed this city long ago. He said, cutting the man off. The demon is just lulling us into a false sense of security. Ryo argued desperately, fear completely clear for all to see in his eyes. Oh, and why would it do that? If that was the way the demon operated, then surely it would have been more subtle when it tried to attack our village. The Kyuubi revels in destruction and chaos, it desires for battle. Previous attacks on other villages have shown us this. For it to do what you are suggesting goes against the beast's very nature. The Hokage said, slightly patronizing. But, Haruno, your own daughter has been on a team with the boy you are damning for the past 2 months. Have you ever asked her about him? If you had, she would not describe a vicious monster. She would paint him as an annoying young man with an abundance of energy. He said again, trying to calm the man enough so that matters could be addressed. Though at a moment like this he was actually happy for some of the villagers' hatred. It could just mean that Naruto wouldn't be used as breeding stock if the council tried to overrule his decision. Now I believe we had a matter to discuss. One of you moved to try and place Naruto in the Clan Restoration Act. I'm inclined to agree with Haruno, however. I do not want the boy used just to bolster our forces, he said as he returned to the topic at hand. At his words, several of the villagers, whose hatred of the Kyuubi ran deep, smiled in slight success. I find your decision to be a foolish one. The boy is a shinobi, and is such nothing more than a tool now. If we could make more tools like him, there can be no harm. Danzo argued. Be that as it may, I am Hokage, and I don't want the boy used in such a manner. Sarutobi shot back. Then we are at an impasse. I say we take the matter to a vote. All in favor of adding the boy to the Clan Restoration Act. Danzo said as he raised his hand. He was followed by Sarutobi's old teammates. 3 of the 7 civilians voted in favor and 2 of the shinobi clan heads voted for it. One was Hiashi, the other was Aburame Shibi. All against adding him. Danzo sneered. Tsuruboy raised his hand and was followed by the remaining 4 civilians and the rest of the present clan heads. 9 votes against and 8 for. It looks like he shall not be added to the act, Danzo. Sarutobi smiled while thanking Kami for his daughter Sarutobi Rika, OC. As Hokage, he could not act as the head of his clan for the fear that he would favor them and only them. It had been that way with his predecessors. But his daughter could. She was a kind young woman and the youngest of his children. She had always been close to Naruto and had hated how the village treated him, but as was the same with him, she could not openly act, else she lose favor amongst the rest of the village. But in a matter such as this she could act to prevent the boy further heartache. You would deny this village the powers of his clan? Danzo accused. Sarutobi merely smiled and shook his head. You misunderstand, Danzo. I would welcome it if Naruto had a family of his own and provided us with many children. But it shall be by his choice. I shall force him into nothing, he said with a sense of finality. Your attachment to it has clouded your judgment. Say what you will, but this matter is done. Now, are there any other matters that need to be discussed? Sarutobi asked. As Sarutobi protected Naruto's future, the boy in question fought a battle that to Genin would be considered epic. For half an hour he and Sasuke had been locked in a heated match. It appeared that even the Sharingan had trouble predicting the movements of the Fukin. They couldn't read how his wings moved, and they could just barely predict how they would react. What made it worse for Sasuke was the constant drain they had on his reserves. While he needed it just to keep up with Naruto's movements, the boy in question was attacking from all angles. Worse still, it was only 5 minutes ago that the faintest outline of sweat had started to form on the blonde youth. Sasuke dove to the side to avoid an aerial roundhouse combo as he had started calling them. He had dodged the opening punch aimed at his face, only to come face to face with yet another Naruto who gladly threw the same move. It was followed quickly by an uppercut to his sternum. Next came the dread knee to the chin. It was made even worse by the upward momentum Naruto gained from a flap of his wings. The force of the blow sent him airborne. Naruto quickly followed him up and delivered a sharp kick to his back, sending him up to meet the downward hammer blow from Naruto. Finally, another kick sent him upwards before being smacked downwards by a twirling Naruto's wing. It was the 4th time Naruto had used this particular combo. But the first time it had actually been used on him. The other 3 times he had barely managed to pull a hanged capoeira off to save himself. The first time was as he was about to be kicked into the air, the second was right before the kick hit him in the back. The last time was right before the hammer blow. Now, however, he experienced the full force of Naruto's aerial roundhouse combo. What made the pain even worse was the contact with the ground. Naruto landed right beside the crater as Sasuke slowly rose. Sasuke glared heatedly at Naruto's form, yet he could not help the slight smile tugging at his lips. Finally he had found someone in this village of fools who could actually push him to the limits of his ability. He'd fight this foe until he could surpass them in strength, then he'd be just one step closer to him. You still alive, Tem? Naruto questioned as Sasuke slumped forward slightly. HN, he grunted from the hole. Come on surely, you have more energy than that. Naruto said eagerly, as he bounced on the balls of his feet. You'd have to knock me out, Naruto. Sasuke said as he finally rose to his feet. Ah, but then the girls watching us would get mad. He said childishly. The four in the bushes were startled that he knew they were there. He was supposed to be the worst at things like this. But seeing him give the Rookie of the Year a run for his money made Shikamaru think twice about status while in the academy. Who cares? This has been the best fight I've ever had. Better even than with Haku. Zabuza really wasn't kidding. You are every much a prodigy as I. Sasuke smiled as he prepared a jutsu. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. The fireball rushed towards Naruto at high speed. As before, he jumped above it with a few flaps of his wings. Though this time he came up to see several kunai headed right for him. Moving quickly, he countered the throws with several shuriken before flying right at Sasuke. Sasuke in turn jumped directly at Naruto. There was a loud sound of flesh meeting flesh at high speeds before a loud crash sounded throughout the field. Sakura and Ino looked on in shock at what they were seeing. Shikamaru's left eyebrow rising was the only indication he gave that the outcome surprised him. Choji had stopped snacking on his chips to look on in surprise. While the battle before had at least been slightly matched, with Sasuke managing to dish out as much as he was served. For Naruto to win was still a shock. Naruto was flapping his wings to stay aloft. His right fist extended from the punch he had just thrown. Yet what was odd was the electrical sparks traveling around his fist and around his eyes. Sasuke was on the ground, leaning up against the base of a tree. Several feet above him was a small intent about his size filled with cracks. His left cheek looked slightly burnt and his hair was standing in every which way. His arms and legs twitched every now and then in a distinctly involuntary manner. His eyes were just barely open as he gazed at Naruto. You were still holding back, the entire fight? He asked, slightly angry. Well, no. I honestly didn't mean to do that. Hell, I didn't even know I could do that. Naruto said, slightly sheepish. You what? Sasuke said in shock. Well, you remember Aniki saying something about a heightened electrical field. I guess this is what he meant. Naruto said as he landed on the ground. A prodigy, yet still a dobi. Sasuke grunted. Don't call me that. Naruto said suddenly. What? Dobi? Sorry, but old habits. Sasuke grunted as he began to push himself up. Not that. If you stopped calling me that, I couldn't call you Tem anymore. Naruto smiled as he moved to help him up. Don't call me a prodigy, makes me feel weird. Naruto continued before he called out to the brush. You four can come out now. As Sakura and Team 10 walked into the field, Sasuke could not help but wonder why Naruto would not wish to be called a prodigy, a term of respect. Why would he not wish to be a genius? Why can't I call you that, Dobi? He asked in confusion. Because, calling me that, it's just weird. It makes it sound like I didn't work for my strength. Zabuza put me through some crazy stuff to help me get stronger. He replied. What sort of crazy stuff? Sasuke asked with morbid curiosity. Naruto shivered slightly before he gave his reply. You really don't want to know, he said weakly. That bad? Sasuke asked. All I'll say is that I have a newfound respect for you with how long you've survived your fans. He replied, earning a very strange look from Sasuke. It was at this moment that Ino and Sakura finally overcame their stupor at what they had seen. Rushing forward, they pushed Naruto out of the way before fighting over who got to take care of Sasuke. Sasuke looked as if he'd rather be in the dirt than being comforted by his fans. Sasuke, are you alright? Naruto didn't hurt you too badly, did he? Sakura cried as she attempted to help him up after knocking away his support. Sasuke, tell me where it hurts. Ino demanded as she pulled out a roll of bandages. Man, am I glad that's not me. Shikamaru muttered as he helped Naruto up. Yeah, fans are not fun. Naruto said as he nodded his agreement. This earned shocked looks from both Shikamaru and Choji. This from the person who used to wish he had fans? Choji asked in confusion. After Nami, I neither want nor need fan girls in my life. They are crazy. He shivered. Okay. Do I even want to know? Choji asked. Naruto again shivered at the memory of Zabuza dropping him in the street in just his boxers outside of the newly formed Naruto fan club in Nami. He called it speed and endurance training. Naruto called it sadism. Choji, I think we should drop this. Shikamaru said lazily. Yes, I would like that very much. Naruto said enthusiastically. So, Choji said as he tried to find some way to break the awkward silence that had befallen them as they drowned out the chatter of the fangirls trying to help Sasuke. For the love of Kami, one of you help me. Sasuke's voice suddenly broke their stupor. The three boys turned and saw that Sasuke was shirtless and the girls were trying to get his pants off. Both of them had glassy eyes and slight nosebleeds. But Sasuke, were only trying to find where you're injured so we can bandage it up. Ino said seductively. Bandages over 10 feet away from her. Yeah, Sasuke. We only want to help. Sakura giggled. Should we? I'm not touching this. Shikamaru said hastily before Naruto could suggest helping. Yeah, I think I hear my dad calling. Bye. Choji said as he ran off. Shikamaru didn't even bother with more words before he disappeared. Great. Just me and the rabid fangirls. Naruto said as he looked at the two girls about to molest the weakened Uchiha. Sasuke, you better thank me for this later. Naruto muttered as he went through the seals. It happened faster than Sasuke could actually tell. One moment he was about to be raped by rabid fangirls, the next he was in the brush watching himself break free of Sakura and Ino's clutches before running like hell. He was confused at how it could have happened before he looked at the spot Naruto was, only to see a small pile of wood. Wood very similar to the type he was standing on now. It didn't take him long to actually realize what had happened. Naruto had camoed with the brush where he now stood before hanging into him and switching with him. This both prevented them from noticing that they had a fake and hiding him effectively. Did he really just do that for me? He wondered as he went to pick up his shirt. Guess I'll have to do something as a thank you. He muttered as he wandered back towards his clan compound. Naruto was very worried about his situation. He had indeed hanged into Sasuke and switched places with him. After all, he truly did take Kakashi's words to heart. Those who abandoned their team were worse than trash. So he would take the heat off his teammate. Besides, this had the added benefit of getting some good legwork in. However, this time his run from the fangirls was far worse than him running from his own. His fangirls had no ninja training and couldn't use chakra. These girls, however, could. What made it worse was that as he continued running from them, more girls joined into the chase. After all, he was running around as a shirtless Sasuke. As more girls joined the chase, those already in the chase pushed themselves to be the first to catch him, thus making him push harder to not get caught. Shit. 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 Sasuke better find some fantastic way of thanking me for this, Naruto said to himself as he turned down another road, only to stop when he saw the mob in front of him. Part of the mob had apparently slipped off and cut ahead of him while the rest remained to chase him down. At the heads of both mobs were Sakura and Ino. Come on Sasuke-kun. We just want to help you. Ino cooed. Don't need help. Just need an exit. Naruto smiled, causing most of the fangirls to faint. After all, he was using Sasuke's face and not a single one of them had seen such a heart-warming expression on their broody prince. The gap made by the fainting girl was all Naruto needed to make an attempt at freedom. Desperate for an escape, he dashed through, dodging grabby hands and ducking under diving fans. However, his escape was cut rather short when he felt a hand grip his ankle, tripping him. I got him! A victorious yell rang out. Instantly the horde of girls seemed to descend upon him. Naruto instantly realized that he was in more trouble than he had ever been before. None of the girls in Nami had ever been able to catch him, but he got the idea of what they wanted to do. He had no choice but to end the charade. Sorry, girls, got to go, he said with a smile. The girls grew confused as their prince smiled again. A small breeze seemed to go up as they heard an odd swish in the vicinity. Kai! Sasuke shouted as his image faded. Instead, in his place was someone that only two people truly recognized. Naruto quickly broke from their grasps before twirling around and gazing at them. As I said, sorry about all this. He smiled as he jumped to the air with a powerful pump of his wings. Many girls started in awe of his retreating figure. Some could not truly believe what they had seen. It was as if their prince had evolved and cast of his mortal shell, transforming into the perfect angle they always knew him to be. Sakura, however, was pissed beyond all rational belief. She'd been tricked. Sasuke was within her grasps and Naruto had stolen him away. He must pay. Moving quickly while fueled with rage, she grabbed the rock closest to her person before hurling it with as much chakra-laden force that she could muster. Naruto was ill-equipped to deal with the rock flying at him at high speeds. For one, he didn't notice that it was headed directly towards him until it hit him. For another, he'd never really had any practice correcting his flight after being hit by something like this. Worse still, the rock had hit him fairly hard and caused him to start plummeting earthwards. The only thing he could make out before blacking out was the outline of a girl. Gaara could not believe how lucky he was. It was only yesterday that the man his siblings called father had announced that they were going to be attacking Konoha with the help of Odo during the Chunin exams. What made the news even better was the bingo book he had recently looked at. A genin had made it in his AC rank shinobi, the Kuro Tenshi. If he wasn't in the exams, he would seek him out. After all, what better way to prove his existence than by slaying an angel? Tamari, however, was worried. While she would go through with the plan, she wasn't happy about it. They had an alliance with Konoha and it just seemed wrong to break it so easily. What made it worse was how happy Gaara was with it all. She knew it had something to do with the Kuro Tenshi she had read about. He was apparently the last of a family of powerful bloodline users. Obviously, Gaara would target him before anything else. Though secretly she wished that he would lose if he fought the Kuro Tenshi. While it was horrible to think, the thing Gaara was becoming was not her Otuto, it was a cold-blooded monster. Team 12 of Kumo was confused about why they would be requested to see the wreckage. While it's true that they were an exceptional team led by one of Kumo's elite Jonin ni Yugito, they had not gone on any missions or done anything noteworthy of late. All they had done for the past 2 weeks was train for the upcoming Chunin exams. While it was true that it was over 3 months away, Yugito was determined to make sure that they not only got to the final round, but that they walked all over everyone. Yugito too was curious. She wondered what they had done to be called in by her adoptive brother. All she could think of was that he had found out about the time that she had shredded his limited edition volume of Ika Ika. She glanced back at her team, wondering why they were called just to hear him lecture her. First was a young girl with gray pupil-less eyes and raven black hair done up in dreadlocks. Her skin was dark and she wore a tan shirt with a lightning bolt trim pattern underneath a green sleeveless vest. Her pants were a standard Shinobi black with a kunia pouch at her left. Her Hitai 8 was worn around her forehead.